F2K Glacier has made it through to the next round. He is now, sorry, 4-2. I almost said 3-2. Then he's now 4-2 in the HCT Grand Prix. But next up, we have another exciting game. It's going to be Maverick versus Taz. Lorinda, what do you make of that one?
Two French players, nearly.
Yeah, they speak French.
So yeah, Maverick, obviously, even though he's from Belgium, a large part of the French community, works closely with Armour at times. I don't know if he still does. Taz is like the DreamHack guy. There's 3 or 4 DreamHack guys.
He is, isn't he?
He is always there on some sort of decent score with a load of rubbish in his lineup.
Wow. I wonder how he'd feel about you saying that.
I think he'd be very proud.
Yeah.
He'd probably put his shades on and chill back and say, thank you.
You know what, personal note, I know that you're probably sick of me saying I like players in this tournament. I love Taz.
Taz is a super guy to hang around. He is just full of life and energy all the time. He does. That's why I say he will love it if he heard me saying his decks were a bunch of rubbish, because he would just look at me and say, yeah, then I'm 4-1 and you're casting.
So, as we've, I think, said before, it's 4-1, the score now for these guys. 4-1. Not quite as drastic a game as the last one. It's not elimination, unlike the RDU guys.
Right, but it's almost on the edge of getting in.
Right.
Yeah, you get to 7.
Is it really winning in?
It's not winning. You've got to get to 7. If you're
right?
5-1 with 3 rounds to go,
Right.
you're getting that situation where everything gets a lot easier for you. You've suddenly got to go 2-1 from that point. You really become a big part of the tournament at that score.
Let's take a look at the decks that we are about to see being played in the Hearthstone series. Maverick on Warrior, Rogue, Paladin, Warrior, okay. Taz, Shaman.
Of course.
Paladin, Andrew. This is not the type of Hearthstone match that I'm used to.
No, it is for Taz. I mean, Taz has brought Shaman. I don't know which Shaman it is. It could be absolutely anything. It's Taz Shaman. But yeah, sure. Warrior made a big splash at HCT Americas in particular. And we're not going to see any Warlocks either, which is always nice. And was regarded as a breakthrough for that tournament. But the difference there was that was Conquest. And this is our last hero. And Warrior is not stable enough for a lot of players to want to try and sweep with. And it's not a great counter to much. So you're just playing it as a decent value deck. But I know that a lot of the French community, and again, I'm counting Maverick in there. I do know that he's not French, but he is part of that community, have brought Control Warrior to this tournament at various points. I know Demian has brought like the Dead Man's Warrior, like real, actual shuffle your deck a million times.
I can't help but wonder if we're going to see something similar for Maverick.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
I believe we are just about ready to jump into game number 1 of this series. Maverick versus Taz. I'm excited. Do you have a favorite here?
I think, I mean, it'd be nice to see Maverick do well again, because it's been a little while. We used to tout him as like one of these guys who's on the cusp of coming through as the best players in the world, and it never really materialized. So I feel like Maverick will get this done. But Taz, you cannot write him out at DreamHacks. He has the most wins of anybody ever, I believe, at DreamHacks. It's some ridiculous, like 56 DreamHack wins.
Wow.
That's like, imagine how many DreamHacks you've got to play to get 56 wins.
The thing is, you're right when you say his decks are filled with rubbish in terms of like they're different. But like, oh, look at that.
Like Hemet.
Like Hemet, and we've seen a little bit of this recently. But he consistently does well.
He does. He runs at over 60% or around 60% in these events, and he does it with his own breed of Hearthstone. Again, I mean, Hemet deck has been seen in the past, and is a thing that people, well, in recent history, but it's still really rare to see even Shaman with Hemet. The idea being that basically you get the early board, you slap your opponent about a bit, and then you don't want to draw all your 0-3s and 2-3s later on, so you just get rid of them all and start drawing into big stuff every turn.
Let's talk for a second about even Shaman, because one of the reasons this deck is sort of starting to become popular is that it beats Paladin.
Does it?
In theory.
So,
I feel as though 2 weeks ago it did. And ever since the newer version of Paladin with the charge minions, with the weapon has come out, I think that the Shaman struggles more. However, Taz obviously disagrees, or he wouldn't be bringing this deck and not banning the Paladin.
It's the juggle he's
I mean, that's what you want.
And this is how it starts, and I think a lot of us felt that even Shaman was still favourite against Paladin, but I think every pro we have spoken to has just said it's not even close. The Paladin is a big favourite. It's like, I was thinking, oh, maybe we're slightly wrong and it's 51%. They're talking in terms of, I played my friends last night and I was 11-1 against them and they are good and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I played my friend called Orange last night.
Yeah, exactly. It's not I played my friend
you may have heard of him.
He didn't know how to play Paladin for some reason. You know, I played my playtest partner and I destroyed him. And we're hearing that over and over again from the top players.
Also, a lot of the time, it's worth noting, when players are playtesting against each other, they don't just like play a match of Hearthstone against each other and not talk to each other.
Right.
Like they're saying, this is my hand, what do you think is the play here? Now this is my hand, what do you think is the play?
And then they go to Hearthstone Replay or such sites going, hey, this is my hand on turn 3, should I have gone for the second juggle or should I have hit you in the face and ignored the juggler?
They're not just trying to beat each other for the sake of trying to beat each other, they're trying to learn more about the matchup and what makes the matchups tick. And
they're trying to beat each other on top. No, but no, you're dead right. They're trying to learn how to win tournaments. They're not trying to learn how to beat their friends.
But one of the reasons I think a lot of people think the Shaman is favoured against the Paladin is this eel. The fact that it's just 2 mana 2/3. We've established that 2 mana 2/3s are very, very good. They're good in the Paladin. But this 2/3 deals with the other 2 mana minion that the Paladin's playing. When you factor in the Knife Juggler with the totems are a little bit more... they can survive a little bit better than all the 1/1s can, at least all of them apart from the 1/1 totem does. And as a result, the Shaman is good at just getting on the board and keeping the Paladin off of the board.
Yeah, I mean, compare Eel to, I don't know, Arcane Shot. You know, a card that gets played in Hearthstone.
Well, when you look at it that way, the Eel is a 1 mana 2/3.
Right. Exactly, it's a zombie chow without a downside. It's not quite like that, but you're mixing... I mean, it's fantastic. But obviously, it comes with this massive, massive downside that you've got to play a Shaman deck without Bloodlust.
That is a
It's not just a little downside, right? This is an absolute disastrous downside, and it's why this deck didn't take off for the longest time. But I'm excited, because I think we're going to get to see Hemet very soon.
So... Witchwood Piper has made its way into this deck now. It's always interested me in sort of what 4-drops do you play. Back when this expansion first launched, it was like, oh, let's try Mad Hatter. No, that's no good. Okay, Soundite Chain Gangs, Corpse Takers sometimes. It runs Alakir, so it sort of makes sense. And now Mystic Piper seems to have taken up that slot. Yeah,
Zorkthar would not shut up about this card when he saw it printed.
Really?
He was very much, this just goes in... Not, I mean, I'm going to exaggerate, but he was very much, this card is just good, it should go in everything, look how good it is. And everyone looks at him like, it's just not that great. But he's one of the best deck builders in the business. Again, he's one of the guys behind the scenes. You don't see much of him, you know, actively telling everybody in front of Twitter or whatever how great he is. But he's one of these guys behind the scenes who does a lot of work with these teams.
Okay.
Particularly Nordovin, as that's his team.
Okay, so Tars can't run Bloodlust, but he can take advantage of having a big wide board in another way, and that's by plonking a cheap Sea Giant down. The 1 mana totem just discounts the Sea Giant even further. However, the other plays in his hand look tempting as well. Fire Elemental on the Berserker may be a consideration here.
He may also be looking to use the Piper to fill up his hand so he can hem it sooner.
Well, he can actually, I believe he can Piper and Hero Power and play Sea Giant.
Well, in that case, he may be looking to do exactly...
Oh, no, sorry, he doesn't have the map. No, there's no space on the board, that's the issue, yeah. So if he wants to play the Sea Giant, it's now. And
you're now seeing the downside of even Shaman. Look at my amazing board of things you're not scared of.
Yeah, I mean, when there's a Flame Tongue Totem, things change significantly, but that Amani Berserker is a 9/5 at the moment. It takes a lot to trade into that.
Yep, and obviously the Sea Giant against Paladin, not particularly terrifying because of Tarim, equality.
I wouldn't want to play Tarim right now if I was in the Paladin.
No, I mean, he's managed to set up the Sea Giant. This is what I mean. You've got to set it up to be a good card. But you can't just go around making Sea Giants against Paladin if you're losing the game. It's not a comeback mechanism or anything. 8/8s used to be a comeback mechanism in the olden days. But now they just get turned into 3/3s and laughed at by the opposing army.
Yeah, this is a matchup.
Nice.
This is a matchup where Maverick is going to need that equality. He needs consecrations. He's going to need Avenging Wraths. Arguably more than in any other matchup because he may need them to clear the board, not just for face damage.
And this is where you see how good this Hemet could be. Again, I haven't seen it in action properly yet, but
we're about to.
If this gets tidied up, you don't want to be drawing all the little stuff because the Paladin will start to get control with its mid-range minions. You want all your big stuff to go over the top of what the Paladin can do to you one more time. Maverick is up against it here. Call to Arms tends to laugh at that sort of thing, though.
Yeah, Fire Elemental is laughing at the ooze right now, but Direwolf Alpha is a little bit awkward. If he plays the Direwolf, then he's not playing either of the 6-mana cards. Is there any reason that Tars would not want to blow up his deck at this point?
I mean...
What's he thinking about?
Well, if your deck doesn't get it done and you haven't seen an Equality or a Spellbreaker or a Tarim yet,
boom,
you only have 4 or 5 cards.
Bang goes the deck.
Yeah. Then the reason for not doing it would be that if the Paladin can just, Equality Consecrate a few of those things, you run out of stuff. But yeah, here we go. Tars' deck is now full of expensive, good stuff.
And Maverick's only just drawn his first Call to Arms. This has not been a great set of draws for him.
No, and Tars looking good here. Obviously, look at the board. Yeah, looking good. What a great piece of insight. Well done, Lorinda.
Maverick actually save himself here? He might have to play Tarim. Yeah, I think he does have to play Tarim.
Tarim with, of course, that's 7 health. Usually a big issue because it absorbs 3 3/3s, but with the Direwolf...
Direwolf and Fire Elemental actually means that it's just 1 4/3 that goes into it.
Yeah, it's not going to make... it's got to be done, but it's not going to make as much of an impact as it does in some situations.
Means that 8 damage can go face this turn as well, the surviving minions.
And you can also see what the Hemet's done there. Oh, look, I drew a Lich King. How lucky I am.
It's not looking like he needs it to me.
Yeah.
Look at that. 4 health remaining for Maverick. This is not a position a Paladin is used to being in.
But you say it's not like he needs it. Let's say if Maverick were to go Equality Consecration now, and then you just plop down a Lich King, plus whatever you draw off the top. This is why you don't want to suddenly draw another Direwolf or something.
Yeah. Oh, no, I completely agree with you.
It's an amazing piece of tech that a few people have brought, so it's not a total surprise.
But again, I want to point out that Maverick only just drew his first Call to Arms now. His early game was not that aggressive.
Are you saying he's a bad Paladin player?
Yeah. Tars got both eels in his first, 3 or 4 draws.
And he'll do a lot of early damage. As Maverick isn't looking for a way.
It's too early for this.
We've got a whole 2 days still to go.
And you have to go look at that caster rotation, see if I can make some changes.
We're in France. We need as much cheese as possible in the cast. So, Maverick doing what he can, just taking a chance with this Avenger because he might clear it. You never know. And he's actually got a decent job done here, but...
Well, Maverick is alive.
I was going with the but...
Maverick is alive. There is no final little bit of damage. And again, one of the stronger things about Eel is I believe it can go face. It doesn't have to hit a minion. It's actually pretty scary burst damage later on. But again, Tars has drawn both of them. Death Grip is not that last bit of damage that he needs. But it could actually get a charge minion or something from Maverick's deck.
And Corpse Taker probably the worst card in his deck at this point after the Hemet.
Equality with Knife Juggler on the board and Call to Arms ready to go. Finally, this hand sort of fixes itself.
And the juggles do enough, though. The first one misses. That puts him in a tough spot. He's good now.
Just has to win one of these 2 50-50s. Loses that one. Hero Power gives him another try.
Gets it done.
All right, that was a close one.
Agatha is going to tidy up quite a lot of this, and by quite a lot, I mean everything.
Death Grip first, I don't mind that at all. Oh, I guess, yeah, I play the Primal Fin after Agatha, that's better.
Yep. Puts the 1 point of damage he needs on the board, starts to draw some stuff.
Is that a Lava Burst? Let's take a look. Oh, it's a Frost Shock, it's lethal damage.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
And no healing for Maverick. He could have had a True Silver Champion or something, doesn't get it. Unfortunately, Tars is going to take the win with a Frost Shock.
Yeah, Maverick frozen out of game number 1, but he still has the Warrior and the Rogue left to go. I fancy the Warrior must have some sort of good control elements against this. But I think the Hemet made a difference there. It's very hard to quantify how much.
It is. Tars was in such a strong point by that part of the game anyway. But for all we knew, if the Hemet wasn't played, his draws would have been Firefly.
Well, it's eliminated that happening.
Oh, not Firefly, sorry. It's even Shaman.
Even Tars doesn't play Firefly in even decks. But that would eliminate those accidents from happening for Tars.
I would expect to see the Warrior, like you said, rather than the Rogue now from Maverick. Quest Rogue, assuming it is Quest Rogue, will not be strong against even Shaman.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, though, because the Paladin just destroys Rogue, but the even Shaman does struggle to do enough damage. It will do enough because Corpse Taker will be very awkward to deal with.
Corpse Taker still runs Knife Jugglers, which still does as much damage even after a Vanish. Probably Alakir, I would expect.
Yeah, it does play Alakir, of course, the Corpse Taker to give it all the stuff that it needs.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tars puts himself in a good position. Yeah. The loser of this is not out. The loser will fall to 4-2, which is still okay, but you have to win your last 3 to get through if you do that.
The Warrior deck, though, this is going to be a bit of an enigma. I cannot wait to see what Maverick comes up with. I actually really enjoy watching Warrior games. I know that a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that, but I find Odd Warrior a fascinating deck.
It depends how many games, right? Like, if you're watching Warrior Mirrors all day, then I can't quite be bothered with it. But if you're watching one Warrior match, that's fine.
So is this Big Warrior then?
Big Warrior or just straight up Control Warrior.
Wow. Straight up Control Warrior with...
Warpath is just a ridiculously good card. It's particularly good on turn 10, but it's fine on turn 4 as well a lot of the time. The way that Warpath... Garrosh is there, we still don't have any real clues. The way that Warpath scales seems to be that whenever you want to cast it, it'll clear the board. Apart from on turn 2.
Yeah, sort of. It's kind of expensive. It's 10 mana deal 5, 8 mana deal 4, etc.
I mean, Flamestrike's 7 mana deal 4.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know.
Dragon's Fury is 5 damage, deal 10 to everything. Sometimes.
Except if you play a secret in your deck, which is it's always 3.
So I'm expecting that this is Big Warrior, but we'll see. The other side of things, though, Tars' opening is okay, but a little bit better now he's drawn the Knife Juggler. Direwolf Alpha is one of these great cards to drop on turn 2 because it's not like you're wasting a Flame Tongue. It's a good body, though. It's damage immediately. It does a good job for what it's for what it costs.
Tars going to work out how not to overcommit, but the great thing with the Shaman deck is you don't need to worry about overcommitting because every single turn, pretty much, you're making these annoying totems that can be buffed by your Direwolves, by your Flame Tongue totems, and by anything else you might have there. Might have a Defender of Argus, although he didn't see it last game.
Does Maverick have to Hero Power Shield Slam here?
No, he's in no hurry.
It's so bad. Yeah, no, you're
you
right.
Say to Tars, just threaten me.
You're right. He's not dead anytime soon, and the Stonehill Defender does a pretty good job of putting a stop to everything. Cornered Sentry, Tarlord, Gem-studded Golem. Okay, just take the biggest minion, I guess.
Yeah, and obviously this is where Tars now has to commit the Direwolf, which you don't necessarily want to do because now you're putting... Your totems become less good because you're getting rid of one of your buff cards.
It's fine though.
Yeah, you have to do it.
It's too early for Maverick to really do anything about this board.
And you've got loads more buff cards to come.
That said, Warpath now would actually do the job.
And this is what I'm saying about the scaling. It only really applies to the current meta, not necessarily future metas.
Okay.
But, you know, a lot of the time you want to do 2 damage to everything on 4, you want to do 3 damage to everything on 6, and so on. It's not just a good card, it happens to be the right card for the job. I can envisage certain metas where it's awful or really bad. You know, if everyone's making a lot of 3/4s and stuff like that for some reason.
Hemet drawn from Tars. I feel like this is one of those matchups where it could really make a difference. Just consistently beating the Control Warrior down. That's an area in which Control decks have struggled in the past. They struggle against Spiteful Druid just because of the onslaught of stuff that just outlasts any removal that you have.
I mean, Hagatha in these matchups is absolutely insane as well. So if he draws the Hagatha, I'd be surprised if he plays the Hemet.
Just to get as many spells as possible.
Just to keep making the spells happen. But if he doesn't draw it, he may have to play the Hemet. So we'll be interested to see how he manages it in this match because the Warrior can just fatigue you out if you kill your deck.
This is an uncomfortable turn, isn't it? Direwolf on its own doesn't actually make a difference to this
Right.
board. Yeah, Eel does, so maybe it's Eel, Trade, Coin, Corpse Taker. Corpse Taker not going to get its Wind Fury at the very least because Alakir has been drawn.
What's the punish if you just go face against the Harrison? There's definitely punishes available, like Brawl and such like, but...
It just means the Corpse Taker's less safe, but as I just said, it doesn't have Wind Fury, so the more I think about it, the more I think I like that. Just
Information from Maverick. I have Alakir in my hand. He considered eeling and trading and then just decided...
But you know what, ever since you mentioned it, I do prefer this player. Taz, it's his job to kill Maverick. Why is he mousing over there? He looks so confused. What is a spell damage totem? What is this doing?
I don't want to get into the psyche of Taz.
I do.
I think I will probably... Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I had a documentary on it over 12 weeks.
Maybe he's thinking, you know, back when I needed spell damage totems for Maelstrom portals, I never got them, and now even shamans sometimes don't run a single spell.
Right.
It has been known. And he's thinking, why do you now appear constantly? Where's my healing totem?
Come back later when I've had Hagatha drawn.
Okay.
That's what he's saying to it.
Yeah, right.
Befriending it.
If that was somehow possible, then...
I mean, I meme about Taz, but he is a very silly individual. He's a very serious player, but he's a very silly individual.
Yeah.
I can just imagine him talking to his totems at night. Right, have you got the answer?
So Taz he chose not to buff. What is going on right now? He's just trying to make as many sparkles as possible.
Actually, that's what he's doing, isn't it?
That is literally what is going on right now.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, I was going to say he chose not to attack with the Wrath of Air totem there. He could have actually got the Direwolf buff and hit face, but the positioning of the eels prevented him from doing that.
So that was the mistake that he was alluding to.
And it did end up being a mistake because any of the positioning things he was planning just got blown up by the Brawl. So you can imagine Maverick would have one less health now. Would that have made a difference?
I mean, it makes a big difference sometimes. It is hard to kill control warriors. So sometimes it is absolutely crucial, that 1 point of damage.
I don't believe we've seen a Shield Slam or an Execute played yet from Maverick. So Taz must be expecting this Lich King to be dealt with. And Doom Pact is not the Death Knight card that Taz will have wanted.
No, not at all. This isn't the big warrior by the look of things with armor.
It's not, you're right. And it's different. It's different.
And Control Warrior could be very good. Now we've slowed down the meta a little bit going into next week. But not necessarily today. You know, just going all right. It's 4-1 in this tournament. The other thing with Last Hero is you can take a chance with one or two of your decks. If they don't have to win. Okay. It's nice if they do, but it's not like Conquest where if they don't win, you're out of the tournament.
Yeah, right. It's like...
If you bring a deck that's a little bit on the fringe, it's fine.
If you're laughing, you can just bring 2 decks and just play every game with Freeze Mage and win tournaments.
Don't depress everybody. We loved laughing.
He just didn't love Conquest.
Yeah. Or anything other than Freeze Mage. Okay, the damage is coming in from Taz now. Now Maverick does need to get his hand size up and start taking some action.
Yeah. Cool. Garrosh is almost good, but just not. Shield Slam drawn. Okay.
Garrosh's weapon.
Oh, Shield Block
so
and Shield
insane.
Slam. This is such a good set of draws there. He gets the block and gets the second Shield Slam. And the Blood Razor, which... Oh no, he can't hero power if he plays Blood Razor. Okay, so it's...
Yeah, he'll want to get the Garrosh back into his deck at some point as well if he is playing Deadman's. Because... You know, the weapon, not because of the Garrosh so much, but because of the weapon that comes with him is absolutely insane.
All right, it's Hermit time. Goodbye, deck. C'est la vie.
MC Hermit. He has now got good cards only in his deck, plus 1 Corpse Taker, I think. And it doesn't get rid of your deck. I mean, there's enough big stuff in here, as you just saw there, that... You know, you don't completely ruin yourself. Like some Hermit decks play like 3 cards and just go for some sort of combo.
Yeah, like
after.
good old like Fireball Tempo Hermit Mage that would just delete everything except Fireballs and Pyroblasts.
Right.
But no, it looked like Taz still has 11 cards left in his deck.
It's just eliminate the stuff you really don't want.
Like Vicious Scale Hides and Primal Fin Totems.
Your early game that... And it means you can mulligan more aggressively for that early game without having to worry so much as well. You just want to get it all out there early. Plus, Hemmet's not a bad stat for its card. It's not great, obviously, with an incredible ability, then it's never going to be great.
Mana 6/6
but it's fine. It's better than Jen.
Oh, sure. I was thinking to myself, why did Tars not hero power then? Of course, the ability, the warrior weapon, would have allowed Maverick to just hit it into the totem and not take any damage. Tars wants to keep all of his minions on a high attack total while this weapon is around.
Good to see he's awake live and early in this morning after a long, long day yesterday for a lot of the players. We're going to see one or two of them struggle, but everyone seems a bit fresher today, walking around there, I think.
Nobody travelled yesterday.
Yeah, everybody had at least a decent amount of sleep, or an acceptable amount of sleep. Apart from Fury Hunter, whose roommate locked him out of the room for 3 hours. Well, they had the keys and didn't go back to the room. So Fury Hunter, who is 5-0 going into this round, has had no sleep.
Wow, okay.
He was tweeting, has anyone got a floor I can borrow at one point?
That is really not a nice position to be in.
The tweet stopped, so I assume he found somewhere to sleep, but yeah, he was not impressed. Danish pirate boys unable to sleep.
So, Tars has a potential of 12 damage available right now for Maverick's 18 health. Maverick has sacrificed his armor up hero power. He's got shield block, yes. He's got the armorer, yes. But he's running out. Tars is running out of pressure though too.
But the pressure's going to not whiff. I know that's all I've talked about with this Hemmet, but we don't get to see it every day.
You really like Hemmet, don't you, Lorinda?
I just like the idea of a deck that doesn't have a bad draw.
Honestly, I really like Hemmet as a card. I have ever since Ngoro came out, and I think one of the things I said about it back then is this card's not good now, but it will be really strong at some point.
What I think is good about it is that we've always looked at it as a combo card or a bit of a silly card. But the way that it's being used in this even Shaman is...
It's not even for a combo, is it?
It's nothing spectacular. It's just to make your deck a bit nicer and a bit more stable and a bit better. And all those bits are adding up to a really good whole.
So Tars did all 12 damage that turn. He wants Hagatha. That's the card that he wants to see drawn anytime soon, especially as Maverick's entire board and hand would be destroyed by it.
Yeah, the Dry Whisker obviously a thing that Maverick's going to need because he's getting so low on health sometime soon. But Maverick's not been able to play a Deadman's to really get his deck back together. So each time he uses one of these cards, it is gone for good, which isn't always the case in Deadman's. And he's just hanging by a thread at the moment. Like you say, Tars is currently out of stuff, and for all me ranting about the fact his cards might be good, there are still things like that second Corpse Taker, one or two other bits and pieces that aren't going to really bail him. So Hagatha, as you called a minute ago, is the key to this.
Bring it on. Bring it on! Says
yeah.
Because he actually gets the vital extra armor. I wonder if he's running a Deadman's Hand in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if he isn't.
Bring it on really sort of heavily indicates Deadman's Hand.
Yeah, because that's your stabilization. You shuffle it back in, you gain 1 million armor, that's the end of the game.
Now, after a Hagatha, those 0 mana cards in Tars' hand are going to be really useful, and there she is.
Hagatha coming to play.
Hagatha, 3 minions and 3 shaman spells. I wonder how much he plays now. Doesn't want to play.
Probably depends how the spells go.
Farsight. It's still the Death Knight hero's weapon, so everything dies at once. Maybe he just has to play this and buff up one of the Murlocs. The Cryostasis.
Sure.
Buff up the middle one. Whatever card ends up in the middle. I guess the Murlocs are... Sorry, the totems are creating more Murlocs, so the weapon doesn't deal with everything, but the Whirlwind effect will.
Yeah, Tars could do with a card that isn't one of those two.
Yeah, so Cryostasis has to hit the middle minion.
Lava Burst is nice, though.
Lava Burst is nice.
And the other thing here, playing against Hagatha much, it's really awkward because you can't rule cards out, but you can't exclusively play around them. Like things like Bloodlust now, Maverick has to be aware of, but not scared of. But he has to factor it in.
I just want to say, I'm a little bit confused by this, because Tars has set up Maverick to just Whirlwind away the 1/1s and hit the weapon into the middle minion, which will deal damage to the Scalebane. I really would have liked to see, sorry, the Scalehide. I really would have liked to see him buff up the minion that ends up in the middle after the Whirlwind to prevent this from happening.
Sure. Yeah,
At least now, Maverick would have taken 2 damage.
Sure. Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
So I'm a little bit confused as to why he chose that buff
With you on that.
But Fire Elemental comes down now. That's another 3 damage. Lava Burst is in the hand. Forked Lightning, unfortunately, doesn't go face. Chain Gang, that's another spell. That's more pressure.
Yeah, the pressure's getting pretty huge.
That's more pressure. It's 2 more damage at some point. If the Fire Elemental were to survive, then that's also another Elemental in the hand.
I mean, if the Fire Elemental were to survive, this game is possibly over.
Well, because Maverick now has another Bring It On, and he's still got a shield block too.
And he knows there's no minions, so the Bring It On's easy enough. But if he uses this Bring It On now, he never has another one. Which is...
he can Dead Man's first. Right?
Oh, he's got the Dead Man's. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that looks like the play.
As soon as Dead Man's hand gets played, my notes are going out of the window.
Yeah, just
there goes any chance at tracking what cards are left in the deck. And same sort for Tars, actually. Playing against Dead Man's hand is actually very difficult for that very reason.
I think you just have to assume your opponent is good and assume that the cards they put in are ones you don't want him to put back in.
You assume they just have a copy of it.
But actually remembering what has happened is a nightmare. These guys are not allowed pen and paper anyway for keeping notes, so you know, you have to do it all mentally here. But you've got a good idea what sort of hand they want to shuffle in. You remember that Garrosh was played early, so that sort of thing. You'll keep track of some key cards and just assume the rest are still in there.
All right, the 2/2 survives, so the 2/2 buff is going to be a little bit of extra damage, which would Piper.
Okay.
Sure. Definitely seeing why that's valuable in this deck now. Definitely seeing it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Just another board for Maverick to have to try and deal with. Alakir is long gone.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if there's a Divine Shield now for the Corpse Taker. One Argent Commando has already been played. It's just a question of whether or not Tars runs a second one.
This is fascinating to me because every turn Tars is drawing some damage and every turn Maverick's drawing about the same amount of heal. Or armor, at least.
Yeah, shield block. Second shield block still just waiting.
But Hagatha is giving Tars that little bit of burst. So each time that Maverick's having to clear these boards, at some point he's going to whiff, probably, and Tars is going to be able to get the burst in, depending what Hagatha does. Can she get there? Convinced about Hemet yet? I think I am. I think I was a while ago, but now I've seen it definitely playing out. Like, every draw has been just good.
Reminder, both shield slams are gone. So this Sea Giant is very difficult to deal with. I'm going to assume at this point that Maverick doesn't run executes. I think we would have seen one by now.
Is interesting. Battle Rage. An absolute important part of these decks to allow you to get back to those Dead Mans quicker.
Yep.
To fill up all the Bring It Ons more quickly and so on. This is a really hard deck to play. People like Maverick make it look too easy.
I take it back. In fact, I think we even... Oh, it was Dead Man's... Oh, my goodness. Never mind. Clearly, my tracking went wrong before Dead Man's Hand was even played.
I'm never going to listen to Dan again.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
It did seem weird, but also I didn't remember seeing one either, I've got to be perfectly honest. Anyway, on we go.
Tars is almost out of cards.
He is, but he's got a lot of stuff in his hand.
Yeah, but what does it actually do? He's got a board clear at some point when he's in fatigue.
For 8 damage from Lava Burst and the weapon.
That Cryostasis appears
way too
frequently.
often. Way too often.
Healing Rain doesn't do anything in this matchup.
No, I mean, the warrior's never going to kill you by natural causes. If it kills you, it's because you're taking 79 fatigue damage a turn.
Forked Lightning is good, though. It's actually pretty hard for Maverick to deal with this again, as Tars... Is he going to Lava Burst the face?
So what he's thinking here is if do it. The Overload kind of messes it up a bit, but he's trying to free up his mana for later turns when if he draws a good spell off Hagatha, he may need that extra mana to...
Yeah, well, he's only going to get 2 more spells of Hagatha at the most, because Corpse Taker plus whatever the remaining card in the deck is.
Good point.
I'm going to assume it's not an Argent Commander because I think Corpse Taker would have been played already if it was. There's the second shield block.
You're right, this is just starting to get out of hand.
Execute in hand does allow Gen to be dealt with nice and easily in combination with the hero power.
Yeah.
Maverick's just sort of just fine at the moment. And Stonehill Defender in the long run is going to create some pretty big threats that Tars just won't be able to get past.
And Maverick will almost certainly know what all the cards are that aren't spells.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no way he knows what these things are.
But he'll be a bit scared right now as well. He's just seen a lava burst to the face, which tends to imply that Tarz's hand is full of damage.
Oh.
That's not even a minion. So.
One spell left. That's not going to be anywhere near good enough, unfortunately.
It's going to be 1-1. And we're going to see some more dead mans.
That's kind of weird.
Why is it weird?
Just dead mans.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Very long.
Just I'm just double checking to see if there's any lethal or anything available for Tars.
For Tars, with
this handful of utter gubbins.
I find that incredibly unlikely. He's got the lava burst, that's great, but I don't know where the remaining 8 damage comes from.
Yeah, he can't generate a minion in any way, right? That's sometimes where you can sneak one extra Hagatha card.
He has no way of doing that. The 1 mana Shaman spell, Discover a Battlecry minion, can potentially, when that comes from Hagatha.
There's like Spirit Echo and those things sometimes do their thing.
Yeah, there are cards that there are ways that Tars can generate more minions from Hagatha, but now there's not. You know, he's gotten all of the juice from his deck that he can possibly squeeze out, and unfortunately, he's going to have no choice but to drop the concede. Maverick takes his first win of the series, tying it up. It's 1-1.
1-1, and Dead Man's Warrior versus either Druid or Paladin? We'll see on the screen in a minute. See if I've got that right. Yeah, my notes are actually good.
So I expect to see the Druid picked next from Tars as the better counter. Though, yeah, I think that's fine. The Paladin,
I agree.
The Paladin is most likely to beat the Rogue later on, so...
yes, because the Paladin isn't that bad against Warrior. You'd imagine it was awful because they just whirlwind your stuff and kill it with stuff with weapons, but actually it doesn't work out like that. They just stick a blessing on something and hit you really hard 2 or 3 turns too early. That
said, I'm not familiar enough with Maverick's list to give you any sort of certain answer on what is favored. Maybe his Warrior is completely teched out to beat Paladin. You know, the Warpaths are pretty good in that matchup.
Yeah, and it depends on Tarz's list as well. If he's got Glass Knights and stuff like that, it makes it a lot harder for the Warrior to deal with things all at once.
That's going to be the Druid.
But it is the Druid. And surely even Tars plays spiteful stuff in spiteful decks. Unless, but there's a fungal mouse, unless it's some sort of weird token muzzy list, but it's not.
Even Tars. Even Tars plays spiteful and spiteful Druid.
Yeah. Tars is definitely one of the characters buzzing around DreamHack that makes this event special for me.
He's just so much fun. He's sort of on home turf here as well.
Very much so, yeah. He's back in France now, I think, as well.
Oh, is he? Okay.
I think so, because he's been in Spain for a while.
He has been, yeah. I didn't realise
I think he's either back in France either soon or I misunderstood a tweet when he came here. He posted a picture of a load of cheese the other day. I mean, wearing his sunglasses with just loads of cheese in front of him.
Okay.
Well, you know,
obviously that wasn't France then.
Yeah, follow his Twitter. He's one of the more entertaining people out there. And again, he's got these sort of deck lists. Okay, this is the wrong time to say that, but like the Shaman list, he's been known to bring Giant's Mage back when Giant's Mage wasn't the best.
I remember him
mage.
bringing Big Priest back when Raza Priest was the deck.
Right, and often he's proved to be a bit of a sort of a sage. Like he brought, like you said there, the Big Priest before it was a thing, and then like 2 or 3 tournaments later, and the meta hadn't really changed. Suddenly people are bringing the Big Priest as a matter of course.
Yeah.
So despite the fact I sort of give him a bit of a hard time for bringing what I'm calling silly decks, they quite often prove to actually be very sensible, and he's ahead of his time more often than you would expect.
What now?
Maverick really taking his time here in his third turn. You're going to just end up armoring up. He's considering playing the Firefly, I guess, of his own with an armor up, but this is fine. He's taking 2 damage. Where Maverick is going to struggle in this matchup is just utilizing his removal spells. Like, what goes where? Right. What can he afford to use up? Because sometimes the, you know, like the Spiteful Druid can run the big 5/5 dragons and things like that, and the warrior has to panic and execute or shield slam it, and then later, when Deathwings are about, the warriors run out of stuff. So Maverick needs to be very careful with every single resource he uses. And that's just the norm for playing any control deck, really. Yeah,
playing the Dry Whisker, he's a problem he's trying to solve last turn. So he's trying to set it up so he could kill things this turn and then Dry Whisker just before and get all that extra armor, because Tars isn't going to go much bigger than 4 wide. If he does, you're in trouble. So getting the most armor you can out of that is very important. Haven't seen a Corded Sentry. Looks like that stuff isn't going on. Not needed when there's no Taunt Druid in the format.
Yeah, Taunt Druid would be a scary deck if there weren't, you know, those few ways of countering it, like filling up your opponent's beast pool with raptors.
Yeah.
And squirrels and things.
Squirrels. That's got the best sound effect. Even I know that sound effect in Hearthstone. It's just the best when it attacks.
Oh. But if you don't know the other sound effects, how do you know there aren't better ones?
Because it can't be beat.
Okay.
It's a good question, though, to be fair.
I thought I had you.
Yeah, it was close. Okay, so Maverick. This is the turn where if he gets it wrong, he loses the game. But he's still thinking, how do I deal with a Spiteful next turn? You know, with Cast Division, we know it's okay, but for Maverick, he's got more problems than we can see. He's worrying that if I Spiteful Summon the next turn, I'm just in so much trouble.
Phantom Militia is sort of an extra way of removing Tars's board. If he can get Tars's board empty and then fill his own up with a bunch of 2/4s, it's just another way of slowing him down. No Spiteful drawn from Tars just yet. So nothing outstanding to play on turn 6. Maverick will probably breathe a sigh of relief.
Trying to work out what are good targets for this Spellbreaker in this match. Like, you don't want to Spellbreaker 1/4, but it does chip through some damage. And there aren't many targets, but whatever just came from.
That's what I was going to say, right? Like, whatever came from this 1/4 is probably what gets silenced. Something. It's like, if you can hit something like a Tar Lord, which is very rarely going to get picked, but that would be ideal.
Yeah. Yes, you have to keep it just in case, and obviously just to force through those last pieces of damage is what you're hoping to do. Malfuria is going to be a big deal here. The extra 3 attack each and every turn, just going to give Maverick another clock to worry about.
Maverick really having to think about where his resources go. Yeah, okay. Playing the Phantom Militia now seems good. There aren't any outstanding value trades available to Tars.
Yeah, and even the Silence doesn't really do anything because it does its job on the turn, so... 3, 4, It's a good pickup, though. That allows him to smash through these with the 3/1 and the Druid of the Claw and his hero power and chip 5 more into that face. That's the immediate play that stands out. There's probably other options available as well.
Let's see.
I'm always a bit dubious about the merits of bringing something like Dead Man's Warrior to a last hero standing Swiss tournament with 9 rounds.
Because it's quite easy to counter, or because you're going to just run out of energy?
Because after 9 rounds of Swiss, you're probably dead on your feet. If your Dead Man's has been winning all those games for you to get you to the end, yeah, it's a very easy deck to make mistakes with. It's a very tiring deck to play, and they're very long days. And there's a lot to be said for not playing the best players in the world whilst absolutely tired out. You know, you've got to have a certain mental attitude. I know, like, RDU for this sort of tournament will very rarely bring control unless it's absolutely the right pick.
Sure.
Because he believes that, you know, I can't play as well when I'm tired, so I'll play something 99% as good, but I'll play it a lot better.
It's definitely a logical way of looking at the game as Tars manages to get that next 5 points of damage in. Maverick has 5 health remaining. He does have Bring It On in his hand. He does have Shield Block in his hand. The Warpath he just drew will enable him to clear this board if he wants to spend his whole turn doing that. But he's got to be thinking about Leroy Jenkins, about Druid of the Claw, which is representing lethal at the moment.
Yeah, and bring it on against a Shaman hand full of spells is one thing. Bring it on against Spiteful Druid, which has 5 cards in hand, is a little bit more terrifying.
Hey, that 6-mana Lich King is looking pretty good.
Right. On top of the 2 4-mana Spitefuls you might give him.
Yeah.
Like, you won't, because then one of them, at least one would have been played.
I was going to say, like, that's not going to be the case. But
it does make it a lot more complicated before just simply gaining your 10 armor. There is a downside and a price to pay. They should call a card a price to pay. All right, so that Dry Whisker he held on to all game, gets 6 instead of 8, but he did a lot more work with the other cards in the meantime, so that looks like a good use of it.
Wow. What a well thought out turn. There's everything except the 3-2. He's on 11 health, and Taz is now 8 off lethal.
Hey, look at this card. This looks good.
What's it do?
Wins Hearthstone games a lot.
Yeah, it seems quite likely. And again, it's just Maverick now has 2 more shield slams, great, but he's not going to have all that much armor. Well, he's got 2 shield blocks. But after he's played these shield slams, then how does he deal with Tarz's next threat? Then how does he deal with Tarz's next threat, etc.?
Yeah, what Tarz needs to think is, okay, so if I play Spiteful and Brawl, how do I make sure my next turn is good enough to basically win the game? So depending on what he gets here, we may even just see this Phoenix smash into the face.
Wow.
Bit harder now. Execute is obviously now bad for him.
Execute's bad for him, but Shield Slam isn't quite as bad for him. And that's one of the great things about Ultra Saw. Maverick would actually have to play Shield Block and Shield Block and Shields and Armor Up, and then he would have the armor to kill the Ultra Saw in one hit. But that's pretty much his whole turn used up. In fact, he doesn't even have the mana to do that. If he's playing both Shield Blocks and Armoring Up, he can't fit in the Shield Slam. It's probably going to have to be the Brawl that was just quite handily drawn, and even then, if the Ultra Saw wins, that's not good.
Yeah, Taz has 6 damage available from hand next turn, right? He's got 9 mana next turn, so it's hard work for Maverick here.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, well, yeah, that is the way of dealing with it without using both shield blocks and actually fitting in the mana. But another answer Maverick could have done is actually just 1 shield block and both shield slams. That would have been okay too, except using up too many resources. But now, 6 mana Lich King, 3 mana Druid of the Claw, 2 mana 5-plume Phoenix. This is a lot of damage.
And this isn't a Millhouse effect. You get this effect for those 5 minions for the rest of the game. You get 2 cheap minions this turn and 2 cheap minions next turn a lot of the time.
A Druid of the Claw plus 5-plume Phoenix plus hero power is 7 damage in 1 turn. He's going to just do this though. Lich King and a little Charging Tiger to back you up. Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, it really does. Maverick, every turn you're on the back foot. That is the nature of this deck. I mean, you've put yourself on the back foot by choice, by playing it, not in necessarily a negative way in terms of winning, but yeah, you are going to have to think each and every turn how to manage those resources, as you were saying earlier, and try and limp along and so you don't lose the game. But against Spiteful Druid, which is playing these massive monsters.
And this is also an example of why maybe Reckless Flurry isn't that good. Like, I don't think Maverick's running it, but in this sort of situation, yeah, okay, he clears the board, but then he's got 5 health left. And that's sort of that type of situation comes up quite often. And
that'll be why he almost certainly doesn't have it in here, because you want to gain all that armor and get out of sight.
Yeah.
You can't get rid of that armor. It's a little bit better in the tank up list, because obviously you just gain 4, Reckless Flurry,
then gain 4
job
again.
done or whatever, yeah. You're not blowing up a huge stack of armor. But, yeah, he's keeping up on cards this time, Maverick, so no real reason for a moment to think he's going to lose. But from where he sat, he is worried about Ultimate Infestation just this turn. If he doesn't see Ultimate Infestation this turn, he may feel a bit happier. But if Tars had it, to fill this hand up with even more stupid stuff. So next plan, hit you for 3 every turn. See how you can deal with that.
Yep, well, that over time, that's a lot of damage. And whenever Maverick doesn't have a Taunt minion up, it's going to be going face. We talked about Spellbreaker earlier, and we talked about what it could target, and I said, well, Well, if the warrior overtakes Tarlord from the Stonehall Defender, though I don't think that's likely to happen, then Spellbreaker would be great against that. And hey, what do you know? Spellbreaker would have been great against that.
It would have indeed. Tars has a lot of gas left in this deck. He's still got 2 Ultimate Infestations, 1 more Spiteful. You know, plus now he has the Malfurion annoying hero power, which races the warrior one effectively. Albeit really slowly. But this Tarlord is going to get in the way.
Let the pain speak to me.
And this is the hard part, another hard part about playing this Dead Man's deck is finding the time to get your cards. You can't just keep jamming everything from your hand.
There's just not that much card draw. Wow, Doom Pact. Yeah, okay, Tars loses a bunch of cards from his deck. At the same time, maybe he doesn't care too much. It allows him to push in 3 damage to the face right now. Oh, and of course, trading in his own minion makes way more sense, yeah. But it also prevents Maverick from getting potentially 3 draws, and I like this for that reason more than anything else.
Tars is just thinking not Ultimate Infestation like over and over in his head here. He doesn't want that to go through his deck. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. He's fine. Okay. Crypt Lord would have defended the board a bit, so... But there's no board to defend. He's just effectively had a lucky Hemet.
I was going to say, it's just like he's just played a little mini Hemet vote.
How cute.
Clears the boards. And doesn't discard Ultimate Infestation vitally. Or, you know, another Spiteful Summoner. And now, back to Maverick and his quest to remove the board. He's got Warpath. Is it worth the Warpath, though?
Can he work out what Tars's 2 cards might be? Like, he won't work out what the cards are, but will he be able to work out that actually... I don't think he can. I don't think he can work out if they're big or small.
What now?
It's very difficult for him to work it out from here. Because last turn was kind of forced by Tars. He used all of his mana efficiently, so it doesn't help Maverick much. So he is going to use the Warpath, so he's got the suspicion that there's no immediate danger from the hand of Tars. Making sure to weave in the hero power, the buzzword of the last 2 years for hunters and warriors alike.
Well, also for this Druid, he's going to be wanting to deal 3 damage to the face at every opportunity.
Sure.
3 damage to the warrior's face is a net gain of 1 damage, right? If the warrior is just using his hero power every turn as it's not tank up.
Okay, Tars puts a big thing in the middle because of potential Garrosh.
If Garrosh comes down, it's got to hit the middle minion. There it is. Maverick ends up taking 2 more damage as a result.
So that was well prepared there by Tars. But he's just waiting for that UI that isn't coming. If that had come in the last couple of turns, I think he'd be in a really good spot.
Yeah,
but
if it comes next turn, maybe there's still time. He's got Leroy Jenkins somewhere in the deck, right? That's
and Maverick trying to add up, can I afford to lose my hero power? That's the downside of getting rid of all the Death Knights, really, but apart from maybe Jaina. And Uther. Most of the hero powers change significantly from your original game plan.
Yeah.
And Maverick delaying it.
He's really taking all of the time he can to think through these turns. Going to end up playing Brawl. The bigger minion survives. That's unfortunate for him.
Yeah, a little bit of extra chip damage needed there. That's 2.
The Tars is thinking, is this Ultimate Infestation? Is this the second
This is the time
summoner?
he needs it. Right now, Ultimate Infestation would be so good. It is Glacial Shard. That is grim.
He plays them though, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Glacial Shard not knowing if your opponent's got Garrosh or not that's a little bit of a problem. And then obviously the card that sums Tars up. He's just a fun guy. 11 cards left in his deck.
Problem is, obviously, Garrosh, when it gets played, it replaces the hero, it unfreezes the hero, and the weapon will be able to do its thing. Tars needs ultimate. Again, a second Spiteful Summoner would be great too. There are a few good draws in the deck. I'm not sure if he runs Grand Archivist. I'm assuming he does. That would be fine too.
Yeah, 11 cards in there. 2 Spitefuls, one Spiteful, 2 UI, and possibly an Archivist.
Oh,
and a Dire Mole.
No, that mole is dire.
It is indeed. And now Maverick gets to drop like Harrison. It's a luxury he's been waiting for several turns, just to have something on the board. Maverick, Harrison's surprisingly good at taking on minions in Druid because it's actually the high attack stat.
Yeah. Maverick has no health or armor gain in his hand at the moment, which is slightly concerning. He's actually running 2 Dead Man's Hands. Okay. Never. So it's a fatigue warrior essentially. It never wants to. It wants to go infinite with Bring It On against certain decks.
Still not quite got what he was looking for there.
That is damage. That is damage.
It is.
8 damage available to Tars right now. 11 health Maverick has, so 3 off lethal.
Needs to work out whether to kill the Harrison with the 3 from his hero power, whether to go face. Not the easiest choice because he's giving up the Druid of the Claw if he does take down the if he doesn't take down the Harrison. But really, your opponent's got 7 cards in hand. Is your Druid of Claw making it through the night anyway? Both
Shield Slams have been played, but neither Execute, as we can see, have been played.
Yeah,
so
I think you've got to accept that your Druid of the Claw is dying. So
I think everything goes face.
In beginner's Hearthstone, you would tell them to kill the Harrison here.
Yep.
But I think you don't, because I think your Druid of the Claw is just dead to the world anyway.
No, I agree. I'm pretty sure everything has to go face here. If everything goes face, then Ultimate Infestation, again, is probably lethal next turn.
Yeah.
Armor Smith will help Maverick out a little bit, but not as much as he'd like. There's only the 1 Whirlwind effect, which is the hero power.
Now let's see how Tar sees this. Does he think his Druid of the Claw can make it through the night?
Wow. What?
He thinks he's going to survive.
Okay, so he traded in the minions so that the Garrosh's weapon can't hit it. And wow, okay.
Sorry, I didn't make that at all clear, but yeah. I was more Tars was more concerned with the hand. Will the 4/4 survive? Obviously, he doesn't mind if it hits in for 4 because that's 4 extra damage. That's like surviving. He's never going to get 3 hits out of it. So yeah, this is like surviving if Maverick doesn't just Whirlwind Execute it.
And I think he does at this stage. Like, Tars is out of stuff.
You Dead Man's first?
He has to deal with 1 thing a turn. Does he Dead Man's first?
So you've got to dump the stuff you don't want. Dead Man's Whirlwind Execute, I think is the play.
He's got an Acolyte in his hand, so I don't think that's so bad at all. In fact, yeah, he's dumping an Iron Beak Owl by the looks of it. So this definitely indicates the Dead Man's Hand being played. There it is. 2 Executes being shuffled in. Acolyte of Pain also.
And he's stabilized-ish. Again, 1 more chance, maybe for UI.
Okay, that's pretty much an Ultimate Infestation. It just can't necessarily go face.
Well,
he can't make it go face, but there's a 1 in 4 chance that it does.
Can Tars do it? Everybody's closing their eyes. Maverick can't bear to watch. Where's it going to go?
His own
goal.
Face, the wrong face.
But he's picked up the other UI fairly predictably.
The rest of the hand's not looking that great. Obviously, Spiteful Summoner now not going to do anything because both UIs have been...
Double Armor Smith for Maverick could be a godsend here.
So Armor Smith, Acolyte, Hero Power, Execute. No, that's 11 mana. So without one of those cards.
What?
Yeah, you've got the Whirlwind into Do You Mind Taking 4? You don't like taking 4 here. Oh, Whirlwind, trading the Owl, double... Yeah. You see where I'm going with this, right? You'll see what I mean. He's doing what I was trying to say, but I managed to slur it so badly that you'll never understand.
Yeah, just without the Execute part. The weapon goes into the Archivist. Yeah. Gotcha.
Because he's getting so much armor, he can afford this.
Ooh, down to 2, though. I know that he's not going to end the turn on 2, but it still feels close.
It's sketch. But obviously now Tar's in a position where the second UI is difficult to cast. Because you start running out of cards.
I think he goes for it, though. He's pretty much... If he runs Leroy, he's guaranteed to draw it.
Okay.
If he doesn't run Leroy, then it's...
The problem is that Maverick now has a magic button that gains him so much health every turn.
That's true.
That you really want to deal with this.
So Druid of the Scythe. So,
yeah, and hero power, just get rid of the armor smiths, then go back to your plan next turn.
It's just a shame. Maybe it's just both Druid of the Scythe into the Acolytes. Hero power still goes face. It just feels bad to waste the damage, you know? Druid of the Scythe can't go face anyway this turn. It's rush, not charge.
Yeah,
but the hero power can.
Yeah, getting that extra 3 in seems decent.
It's scary allowing the Acolyte to live on 2 health because Maverick then gets 2 draws from that next turn.
Could also just drop MC Tech for a minion on the board. But yeah, he's going to go for your play. Get the extra 3 while he can because Maverick is so low on health. And keep him in some sort of Leroy range. Leroy plus hero power range.
Taz is really trying to work out if he needs to hero power down this Acolyte or if he can afford to go face.
Oh, he doesn't know.
I don't know either, Neil.
Taz doesn't know. I'm not even going to guess.
Okay. Reduces Maverick's draws from that.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Because
that to me says he thinks he can win the longer game being 3 or 4 turns game.
Maverick can win the longest game.
Yeah, the immediate long game, if that's even a thing. It is now. I made it a thing.
Second Acolyte being played. Whirlwind going off straight away, dealing with Taz's board. Double execute picked up. This is getting worse and worse for Taz every single turn. Last card was Prince Chalice.
So no Leroy in the deck.
Yeah, so it's Druid of the Claws instead.
Yeah. And no easy thing for Taz to do.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but this game is looking almost over. Is there any way that Taz can actually end it in a tie? If he hero powers the face for 2 turns, then plays Ultimate Infestation the turn after.
If Maverick's hand is awful, sure.
If Maverick hasn't drawn any healing by then yeah, it's lethal, and the Ultimate Infestation will probably kill Taz.
Then we get to see it all again.
So yeah, he's going to drop Spiteful Summoner and hero power the face by the looks of things.
My thoughts are plagued.
Yeah, Maverick's done a good job of managing this weapon. He just hasn't used it unless he's really needed to. Well, Taz, with so little damage left, it feels like you don't win if you...
Just to clarify that for anyone who may be confused, the Ultimate Infestation does deal the 5 damage to Maverick's face, but then will draw 5 cards. That, in turn, will deal a lot of fatigue damage to Taz as he's out of cards. And that would be what results in the tie. Both portraits would explode at the same time.
Yeah.
Almost out of cards.
Bring It On is armor, though. Bring It On is a lot of armor.
Yeah, Maverick's only got 1 other card in his deck, so it's very likely to get. And he knows there's no real threats in Taz's hand, or he would have seen them. So he doesn't need to over-worry about the Bring It On.
What?
See what the last card is. This hand is about to become, oh my goodness, the entire deck. Dumping and execute first because it's really the armor gain that Maverick wants to draw over everything else, and then I expect to see Dead Man's Hand and then Bring It On.
Looking for all the world I can go 2-1 with. Can he get the sweep with Dead Man's Warrior?
That would be incredible and tiring.
Paladin to be. Yeah, he's got 4 more rounds, or 3 more rounds to play after this, and he'll be on 5-1 if he did get through it.
Yes, again, reminder, well pointed out, both of these players are 4-1, so the loser is not out of the tournament by any means. Just has to work that a little bit harder.
Work that a little bit harder at winning Hearthstone best of 5s. And be that little bit more tired afterwards. Okay. Taz's last throw here. Get as much down as he can. But Maverick has got into the loop of goodness.
Yeah, Bring It On is just going to... That's the card that's going to end Taz. And Taz knows it's there. If he has been deck tracking, and it gets difficult at this stage. It is worth pointing out. It gets really difficult.
Maverick will know there's a UI in hand. Like he should know them all, but he won't necessarily because this is a tiring match. But he'll know there's only 1 UI. That's a card you automatically track to see if their Spitefalls are any good.
Yep.
You'll know there's a Keleseth because nothing's been buffed. And then you might not remember the other stuff.
Yeah.
But you'll know that you can afford to Bring It On and you'll be okay. There we go. Tars has always been a man to play it out a longish time. I don't see how he gets anything out of this. Yeah, he's going to just...
Oh, ultimate infestation, his own phase.
Yeah,
okay.
just to finish it off, because it was only 20 otherwise, I think.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Oh, no, it was 3, so it was actually 25.
Tars takes a very nice little end to the game there, and Maverick gets his second win. 2 wins in a row with Dead Man's Hand Control Warrior. Will he get the third? Now, that should have been the bad matchup.
Right, Tars chose to play that Druid, but you did point out at the time, and it was a very valid point, that the Paladin matches up well against the Rogue. So, talking from the perspective of someone who doesn't know enough about Dead Man's Warrior to know all the matchups 100%, it may be keeping the Paladin for the Rogue. So, maybe he can still get it done. If he gets in with the Paladin here, he still probably wins the match. Even though he's 2-1 down, because Paladin to Rogue, I keep saying, we will probably see a Rogue win one of those, but it will be one of those. Interesting that Tars is thinking of getting rid of the Beetle here. The 2-3 present's not enough for him. Just looking for a much more explosive start, and that's not it.
It's not explosive. It's explosive later on when the Avenging Wrath starts to get played, but not yet.
Yeah, the equality of Avenging Wrath does mean that if he gets control and then sort of loses it, he can just win with 6-7 points of burst, depending what's exactly on Maverick's board. You know, Tars did choose to throw away the Beetle here. I mean, the Beetle doesn't do very well against Stonehill defenders, to be fair.
No, it's on the slow side. He'd prefer an Amani for sure, but it is better to have something, you know, to play on turn 2.
Decision here for Tars. This is the most efficient way of playing.
Yeah, well,
but if he wants to get another card to try and draw the call to arms, Thanos is interesting.
But because Thanos is just a 1-1, it's more tempting to just, hero power here and then play Thanos with the 1-1 next turn.
This is more value, more efficient, but also it's going to be less likely to get your call to arms as early. You
said plated Beetle's not great against the Stonehill defender, though. What's even worse than that is
2 1-1s.
2 1-1s.
Yeah. And this is the tiny punish or whatever for not playing the Thanos last turn. Now he picks up another card, draw card, and he can't get going. But this is what he wanted to set up.
Really hesitating before ending his turn there, considering trading into the Stonehill and making it so that the Saronite can easily clean it up, but opts against it in the end. Decides not to play around Whirlwind effects this turn. There's a Whirlwind effect.
Yeah.
Either way, the Saronite still now is able to trade into the Stonehill, so...
yeah, it's fine. I mean, you're going to lose dudes to Whirlwind effects. That's fine if you can force... It's the other way around. You're forcing the Whirlwind effects out for nothing.
Sure.
Because winning very quickly isn't necessary. You've just got to win. It takes a long time for this Dead Man's to stabilise. We saw last time, you need a couple of cycles through your deck to really stabilise.
Free me, says the Saronite Chain Gang. And I think Tars is probably thinking that as well. He's thinking, free me from having to face this horrible deck.
Let me think.
But Tars just loves, I mean, a lot of pros obviously love playing Hearthstone. That's why they decided to go pro in the game.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? Yeah.
Tars really loves playing Hearthstone. He does genuinely have fun with this game all of the time, more than nearly anybody else, I think. And this is the problem the Warrior deck faces in the early game, is it doesn't have many things to get in the way. It relies entirely on clearing boards. And when your Paladin can just go, make a 1-1, make a 1-1, make a 1-1, you know, because nothing's getting in the way of those 1-1s, it does force those removal spells out. And Tarz's hand, as you can see, is becoming more and more damage heavy as time goes by.
He's playing that real slow game, the hero power instead of the Knife Juggler, the hero power instead of the Thanos. He's really trying to milk all of the resources that he possibly can, and so it's a really... It's a healthy way of playing against these heavier control decks, but at some point he is going to need to change gears and, you know, kill Maverick.
But that's one of the reasons this deck is so successful. It has several different gears. It can play several different ways. Yep. The only way to really stop it doing this would be to find Garrosh. Otherwise, Tars can just keep hitting this silly button over and over again. And I mean, he's put pressure on here with a crippled chain gang and a stupid beetle. And it's a terrifying board state.
I'm not that stupid. Said the beetle.
Yeah. To the chain gang. Who's wondering how long can this go on right now?
Well, for you, my friend, chain gang, it's not going to go on for much longer. As Blood Razor is going in, everything except the beetle gets cleared up, and Taz almost has to start his aggression from scratch. Difference is this time he has 6 mana.
Yeah, and he hasn't lost anything. Like, you say, he's got a lot more mana to work with now. Now he can possibly put down some real stuff.
However, Maverick has a board. He got a very good battle rage there, and there's Scourgelord Garrosh.
Right.
The key card you mentioned just a moment ago, which will counter that hero power every single turn.
Yeah, he'll wait to wait until he's absolutely sure he can make enough armor to, you know, to have the open face. But as soon as he's got that situation he's comfortable with, which might be now for all I know, I mean, he has the Dry Whisker ready for a little bit. After that, he'll just be ready to go, 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 and force Taz to use his good cards, because Taz is deliberately not using his good cards because he hasn't needed to yet.
Maverick with Wax Elemental in his hand is just a strange sight to see. Is this... Wait, was that Bring It On he just grabbed? No way. It is.
It is indeed.
That's so risky.
This is declaring that he wants to play Garrosh, like I was talking about, okay. But obviously if Taz just gets too excitable here and dumps everything, then Garrosh's weapon kills it all. Or enough of it that, you know.
It's risky. At the same time, Taz, yeah, exactly. He's not just going to dump all of his minions on the board, so...
I wonder if there's a slight misread here from Maverick, thinking that, of course, Taz is playing so slow he hasn't got much. I mean, he hasn't got a huge amount, to be fair. Or whether he just felt he wants to set up Scourgelord, so off you go.
Maybe. Just gaining as much armor as quickly as possible, yeah. Scourgelord, if Taz does play a 3rd minion, isn't quite able to deal with everything, but wow, Avenging Wrath.
Yeah, preserving the equality by getting this out of the way early. He's still got the equality for the next Avenging Wrath should it decide to show its face.
And, you know, taking advantage of the extra little bit of spell damage from the Thanos, doing it while the board's empty, as you said. Like,
I would like to see the two attack minions in the middle together here.
Right, because now the
Scourgelord just gets the dude
hits
now.
The 1/1, yeah.
If there's any reaction from Taz. Yeah, Taz raised an eyebrow there, partly at the Garrosh, but partly, I think, at his own 1 damage wasted. Because he played around that really well last game.
Okay, Blessing of Kings is definitely a...
blessing.
It's definitely a blessing, not really even in disguise there.
Yeah.
As Thanos sort of gains 4/4, and that 4/4 damage gains charge. Weapon could also go in if he wants to maximize damage this turn.
I think you stick the weapon in because you've got 2 of them and they've got to find a way to get that damage done before stabilization.
Over 4 turns. And also Valenier is a card to consider. At some point, he's going to draw Valenier, and he wants to be able to play a weapon every single, or hit with a weapon every single turn.
Weaving in the true silvers is pushing the phrase a little bit, I think.
Weaving in those 4 attack weapon hits every single turn.
Yeah, but that is what he's going to do. He's going to get 16 damage over 4 turns. That's a whole chunk. Bring it on his back. Taz getting a bit clicky.
Thought he didn't want to go into the psychology of Taz.
It's true. Caught me.
Also running the Glass Knight. It's so popular in this tournament. First thing I'm going to do when I get back to the hotel tonight, play some Hearthstone, is remove a card and put in the Glass Knight, because really we need to try that now.
Yeah, it's been in and out of the deck, but it seems to be the staple in this tournament. Certainly wasn't staple coming in. Again, it depends what you're banning and what you're trying to beat. This gives you a bit more game against the priests, against the warlocks.
Yeah, Chene was saying to me last night, it beats Warlock. Exactly. It beats the Hellfire turn, it beats the Dustbreaker turn, it beats those keyboard players like that. And then obviously you can Blessing of Kings it, and it can go out of control.
But also in, say, the mirror, the Divine Shield dies to a 1/1 dude. So, you know, there's pros and cons to each, as they say in certain other computer games. And, you know, in this tournament where you've got a ban available, you can use the pros to your advantage. Well, this demands an answer, but it's not tough to answer. You're going to see that in between the two.
Still annoying though. True Silver just had to waste a lot of. Oh, okay. Was hoping that the full damage would go pay. Took a bit of a risk there. Didn't pay off.
He took one earlier and it worked for him though in one of the other games.
Okay.
Where he needed to win a 50-50, otherwise his play was going to look really bad. And he hit that one, so, you know.
This is annoying now. Just the hero power and the weapon swing will clear this board really easily. Weapon swing goes into Knife Juggler.
Yeah. 17 health with another Bring It On in hand would be good.
But, you know, a free 8 armor from this little 2-drop, that looks good too. Don't mind that at all.
Yeah, exactly. This card really makes life hard when you're playing for the smaller deck. If you don't go wide, you don't get the damage done. If you do, your opponent buys a turn. Almost like a mage-style card.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I just bought myself one more turn. Maverick's starting to look like he's going to get 3 wins in a row with Dead Man's Warrior here.
It's impressive. You cannot deny that it's impressive. It's a very good meta call, I guess, for this tournament.
Well, and let's you know, make it absolutely clear. Tarz's lineup is not your traditional crazy Tarz lineup. This is a very sensible lineup. Even the even Shaman's a little bit fun, but there's a lot of people playing that very similar deck. So this is going through a proper tournament lineup here for Maverick.
Yeah.
And watching this in action and looking at the field, you've got to wonder if this can just keep going like this for 3 more rounds quite easily.
It definitely could. He's gotten this far. 4-1 is already a great score. 5-1 is even better, unless Tarz can find some way back into this game. And I'm racking my brain and trying to work out what set of cards could do it. Again, he's not drawn Call to Arms this game.
He hasn't, and that makes a big difference in Paladin. Obviously.
It's like not drawing Hemet in Shaman.
It's just like not drawing Hemet. Exactly the same thing, indeed. Sort of. But yeah, not drawing Call to Arms is obviously a strict misplay when the card is one of the best ever printed at the current time. But yeah, you are entitled to have games where you don't draw it in the top 4 cards, incredibly.
It does happen. And when it's in the bottom few cards, it's a problem because the Paladin spends the entire game drawing 2 drops.
Yeah, it needs that deck thinning. I know deck thinning is an overstated phrase sometimes, but the Paladin deck needs it to be thinned out, like you say, otherwise you just draw that 2-drop after 2-drop.
It may be overstated, but it's also quite important.
Yeah.
As Defense hand shuffles in a handful of cards that I'm sure that we are not going to remember. I doubt that Tarz or even Maverick will remember.
Just really good cards. I don't think Tarz is going to need to remember them for much longer here, to be honest. Maverick is not quite out of sight, but it's getting there.
2-mana Argent Commander now.
Yeah, bring it on.
Okay, all right, hold on a second.
Yeah.
For justice.
Tarz could get some loot hoarders here, fill up his hand a little bit, Call to Arms. Maybe that's a start to get back on. But then I look at Maverick's hand, I look at the warrior weapon, I look at the Brawls, I look at the Blood Razor ready to go after the weapon gets destroyed. I look at the hero power going off every single turn. And most importantly, I look at the 38 health that Maverick has.
And even though the Paladin's very good at consistent damage output, it's not good at keeping the board for long enough at this stage of the game against Control to get 38 through. Yeah, if it needed to do sort of 20, you think, oh, maybe you can get it somehow cheekily through with an Avenging Wrath at the end. Where do I find 12 more? But when you're looking at where do I find 30 more, how are my minions ever going to do 30? Valanir, Chain Gang? I mean...
Yeah, I mean, that is a way of continuous value and damage later on, but the problem is Iron Beak Owl would remove one of those.
Yes. And you're only on 2 Chain Gangs and,
Yeah, and a lot of the decks have actually cut a Chain Gang for a Glass Knight as well.
Sure. Which makes sense if you're going to play Glass Knights for that reason, that you don't like your 3 health minions dying. So cutting one of them does make sense.
Okay, well, this is 8 damage. That's great.
Got to take it where you can, Taj. You're not going to get many chances to do this.
Quality. Considering a quality on an Acolyte that has 2 health.
I mean, his win conditions are your bottom card is X, whatever X is.
Yeah.
Probably the Dead Man's or the Bring It On. So if your quality stops them being 1 card closer to that in your 0% world, sure, I get it. This isn't because he thinks this is good, this is because he thinks he's so desperate that Maverick getting 2 cards just means he could never win. Whereas whatever out he's found involves something exactly being bottom of the deck.
And again, I like the not hero powering there, obviously preventing the weapon from just swinging in. It's pretty obvious.
It's such an easy mistake to make.
Yeah, exactly.
You've played a 15-hour-long match and you just click a hero power button because that's what you do at the end of a Hearthstone turn.
Yep.
Been 15 hours, right?
What, this series?
Yeah.
Or this single game?
This single game.
Yeah, 15 hours.
Thought so. My watch is fine. It's on French time, so it's probably only 14 real hours.
Your internal clock is perfect.
Okay, Maverick can use the owl because he has another one. But he's trying to be greedy with it. He wants to make... He knows that his lose condition now is Valanier Chain Gang, most likely.
Maverick has 30 health. 30 health. And it's like turn 30. And he has 30 health. The Paladin has not done its job. It's
Just to point out, though, because of what you said, he's got 30 health. He's willing to expend 8 of that to preserve the one way he sees he loses, which is not using this owl. He's keeping both owls because we are now in Valanier territory.
Yep.
So he was happy to eat 8 damage there for the one thing in the world that could possibly lose in this game.
Yep. Another great card, Sanctitarum. It's going to do, a little something here. But
this is where if Maverick could just write, I have 2 owls on a piece of paper and show it to Tars, that would be the end of the game.
What else? What else could Tars be running that... There may be a Lich King. It's possible.
Sure, and it may draw 7 cards in one turn. No, yeah, you're right. Lich King, and it may stick for a turn somehow. Yeah, sure.
There are cards that the Paladin can come out with in the late game for some value, but...
Was interesting that Maverick was willing to eat 8 damage. When you think that health total is the thing that's protecting him from dying, but he sees it as it's the owls that are protecting him from dying.
Especially given the fact that the warrior doesn't have any armor up hero power anymore. Yeah, you'd think the health total was vital.
Sometimes the owls are just not what they seem. Okay, so Maverick now has board control as well as all the other things we've been talking about. And the end is nigh for Tars, but again, he can't concede because he needs to go for the Valanier thing, I think. Pew pew.
Okay, well, Quality Avenging Wrath, that's 7 damage. If he plays it without the equality, which is probably wise at this point, it's 6 and the minion usually dies.
Tars has sort of long since accepted his fate, except he hasn't. You know what I mean? He's long since knows his fate, but he's not accepted it. Let's go with that. Even by Tars's normal jovial standard, the head's a little bit on one side here.
Never accept defeat.
Never surrender. Well, Tars has found a way to get a chance of doing 6 damage.
Maverick's just going to play 5 Warpaths this turn. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
No, I see your 6 damage, Tars, and I raise you 1 Echo card.
Yeah. All right, what have you got next, Tars? I always feel like I'm terrified of misclicking with Warpath and just picking up the wrong thing if you go a bit quick.
Yeah.
Call to Arms, that's a really good Hearthstone card. Everyone tells me you win the game when you play this card.
Oh, that is devastating for Tars.
By the holy light.
That doesn't seem like a very good card. What's everyone talking about?
4 mana, do nothing?
Made a 1/1. Okay, so Maverick kills that, oddly enough. And this is a sign that Tars gave up thinking too clearly a moment or two ago, because he didn't know if he had minions or not. If he knew for a fact there were no minions, he wouldn't have played it.
Yeah.
He kept it as a surprise element, as a threat element. So this is a sign that he just stopped paying attention. Okay. And I don't blame him. He's got a lot of important Hearthstone games to play.
Well, Consecration, Equality, Concede seems like a pretty good way to go out. Maverick takes 3 wins in a row with his control dead man's hand warrior. And again, you were saying to me before, Lorinda, like, you know, you have to kind of question his decision to bring this in a long tournament like this. I guess ultimately, oh look, he does have a note that it looks like he may have written.
Concede, damn it.
But look, it turns out it was a good meta call. It beat the Shaman, it beat the Paladin, and it beat the Spy from
I mean, I was
Druid
never questioning the
nicely.
meta call. I'm questioning whether you can play this many games of Hearthstone with it without starting to get tired, because the concentration you need to not mess up with it is just immense. And
well,
tiredness in Hearthstone tournaments is a real thing.
Don't underestimate Maverick. We are just about done for this round of the Swiss, but don't go anywhere. Oh, where are my words going?
There.
Don't underestimate Maverick's tiredness, but mine, go ahead. We'll be back very, very soon.